एक ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरभव।
The third edition of the India-Africa Forum Summit turned out to be historic, bringing under one roof one-third of humanity. It was the largest African summit ever on foreign soil in New Delhi from October 26th to 29th. Equally, it was the biggest international gathering in India since the Non-Aligned Movement and Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 1983. The India-Africa Summit saw the participation of all the 54 African countries, with 41 heads of state and government attending it, marking a celebration of India's millennia-old relations with Africa. India and Africa represent rapidly growing economies with demographic advantages, building upon long-standing partnership. Sustainable development and inclusive growth are the new nuances to this old friendship between Africa and India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi set a record of sorts by holding bilateral meetings with all the visiting heads of state and government from Africa. All the African leaders were on the same page on the issues of UN reforms, joint fight against terrorism and climate change. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj too held a number of bilateral meetings with several leaders from Africa. At the inaugural of India-Africa Forum Summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced concessional credit of $10 billion over the next 5 years. This is in addition to the ongoing credit program. Besides, India offered a grant assistance of $600 million that includes India-Africa Development Fund of $100 million, an India-Africa Health Fund of $10 million, 50,000 scholarships in India over the next 5 years, and support to expansion of Pan-Africa e-network and institutions of skilling, training and learning across Africa. Prime Minister Modi described India and Africa as the two bright spots of hope and opportunities in the global economy. The two outcome documents adopted at the third India-Africa Forum Summit were the Delhi Declaration 2015 and the India-Africa Framework for Strategic Cooperation. The Delhi Declaration condemned terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, violent extremism and menace of non-state actors, including armed groups, flayed direct or indirect financial assistance to terrorist groups or individual members by states or their machinery to pursue such activities, pledged to increase cooperation in securing the sea lanes, preventing piracy, trafficking in drugs, arms and humans through surveillance, vowed to promote cooperation in the blue economy towards the sustainable development of marine resources. Both India and Africa pitched for the reform and expansion of the UN Security Council, even as the world body celebrates its 70th anniversary this year.
This is a world of free nations and awakened aspirations. Our institution cannot be representative of our world if they do not give voice to Africa, which is more than a quarter of UN members, or the world's largest democracy with 1/6 of humanity. That is why India and Africa must speak in one voice for reform of the United Nations, including its Security Council.
Echoing this sentiment, Zimbabwe President Robert Mugabe said,
"We have remained underdogs at the United Nations, where we should have been treated on equal terms as human beings equal to others.
An exhibition was mounted on the sidelines of the summit, inaugurated by the African Union Trade Commissioner Mrs. Fatima Harum and Minister of State for External Affairs General V.K. Singh. It encompassed multiple sectors, including agriculture, energy, healthcare, infrastructure, technology, innovation and education. For India and Africa, it is a win-win partnership. Indian investment, led by the private sector, is $30 billion and rising. India extends concessional lines of credit to the tune of $7.4 billion, which is responsible for creation of about 137 projects in 41 countries. India's trade with Africa in the last 15 years has gone up 20 times to an impressive figure of $70 billion. At the India-Africa Business Forum, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj emphasized on widening and deepening of trade and investment ties.
The India-Africa Forum Summit has provided a useful platform to not only partner in development but also address issues in expanding our trade and investment ties. Having realized the need for greater access to India's market to African goods and exportable commodities, India was among the first developing countries to offer the duty-free tariff preference, that is DFTP scheme, in 2008.
The Trade Ministers' Conference provided a useful opportunity to discuss ways to expand the Indian and African economic and commercial cooperation. Even before India attained independence, there were close links with Africa. Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela are the shared icons of India and South Africa. For India, 2015 is special as it marks the centenary of the return of Mahatma Gandhi from Africa. The sartorial diplomacy was at its best as the African leaders sported the traditional Indian kurtas and jackets besides colourful safas or headgear at the dinner hosted by Prime Minister Modi, reflecting the oneness of India and Africa. The India-Africa Forum Summit saw the flowering of friendship. Fragrance of roses from this friendship garden will cross the oceans to spread the message of love and solidarity between India and Africa. Reflecting this all-pervasive festive mood, folk dances held during the summit marked the coming together of the people from India and Africa. The cultural program succeeded in creating the fusion that will long resonate both in India and Africa.